Okay, everybody knows we're recording. I have the chat on so we can start. All right. So, so excited to have you guys here. Um, for anybody that doesn't know me, but I think y'all do, I'm Heidi. Hi. And we are doing a happy last year ritual. And I've been doing this since 2017. And it has been so important to me. And I'll say a little bit more about that. I've also written about it. But I'd like us to get us, started on a good note. So if everybody has a candle, please grab your candle.
Okay.
We're going to start with lighting our candles together. So everybody start to light your candle. And with your candle lit, so we are now officially opening our session together. And we're going to also start with a little meditation, a little chance to settle in, get in touch with our higher selves, with our true self. You can call it whatever you want. So if it feels okay for you, closing your eyes and take a deep breath in and out. One more deep breath in and out. Allowing your breath to be just a little bit longer on the out breath than in the in breath. And starting to come into contact with the sensations in your body, feeling your feet, your butt, your back, face. Noticing any places where you have tension, where you're noticing perhaps your mind, the past, the future. Giving yourself a little extra kindness. And sometimes it can take a little while for our mind to catch up with our bodies. Feeling your breath as it enters and exits your body. And then visualize your heart. If it feels good, you can have your hand on your heart. And as you breathe in through your nose, through your heart, down through your feet, and deep into Mother Earth. And with every breath, connect down into Mother Earth. Imagine yourself as a tree, stabilized, growing into Mother Earth. Feel your roots, your base, your connection. And start to feel into the connection of the circle that we're creating here together, our sacred time of exploration, at looking at this last year and this next year in a more feminine, circular or spiral way. So feel into the circle that we've created together. Those of us that are here, those of us that perhaps will listen afterwards. And feel them through your roots. Feel each other through your roots. Just as trees communicate with each other, they share information and nutrients. We share with each other safety of the circle, the safety to be together, to perhaps more deeply connect with ourselves by being together. Here's a safe place to connect with the joys and the sorrows, the things that are life, growth, death, cycles, to own it, our deepest desires, our biggest sorrows. But we don't have to carry it alone. We hold it together in this sacred space. And then coming back up through your body, out through the top of your head, and out towards the stars. The stars of which our body is made of, our blood, of the iron of the stars. So that we connect into our linear, our greater possibility, but grounded on Mother Earth in connection with Father Sky. Coming back down to the heart, to your plane of existence, to right now, this present moment, and really honoring yourself for being here, honoring yourself for giving yourself time. Our lives and schedules are so full. So we're really honoring ourselves by creating this space to both look back and look forward. We show gratitude by showing up for ourselves to honor the joys and the sorrows, and to become what we can become by looking forward. Taking one more deep breath, and wiggling your toes, wiggling your fingers, and stretching. Really big stretch. Great. So if anyone has questions, do put them, or any comments, put them in this side, in the comments right now. You can actually, if you want, just put in one word. How are you feeling? I'm feeling much more grounded now and together. Feels great. Wonderful. All right. So a little short background on myself before we get even further into it. I work both as a therapist and a coach, and I work supporting purpose driven women to build resilience, own their own power, and achieve work life harmony. So that's kind of like a short way to do it. And I do that using neuroscience, positive psychology, mindfulness, and women's centered empowerment. I feel very strongly about this coming from the background that I come from, both coming from a very right wing Christian religion. Nothing wrong with Christianity, but the right wingness and very small mindedness. It took me a long time, and I'm still working on it, to try and find my own power. And one of the reasons we're holding this class today is because it was a way that I needed to create my own power. So, short story for those of you who don't know. Um, in 2017, or it was like 2016 had been pretty rough, and there were things going on with my husband's kids and family and all kinds of stuff like that. And we got to December, and I was feeling pretty bummed. Like I felt like I hadn't done anything fun or enjoyed myself. And I was inspired by a class I was holding at the time to just kind of start looking through for my gratitude list. Like, okay, I need to feel more grateful. And what showed up was I started being able to remember like small things. And I just made myself like a an opportunity to start writing down all of the good memories that I had of the last year. So my very first few years of doing this, I not actually didn't look at the pictures in my telephone. I just kind of tried to remember what were the highlights of this last year. What were things that gave me energy? And based on three different parts of our lives. So we have our work life, we have our like love, which is any kind of relationship. I even include my cats in that. And then we have work. So we have work, love, oh, I'm sorry, and energy. Energy is our other one, our eat, sleep, move. Because without energy, nothing happens. Like nothing. Our relationships, our work, nothing happens. So these three basic areas. Um, and so in each of those areas, I started like making myself um, little remembrances of things that were positive because the really big, hard things I could remember. But then I also wanted to acknowledge the hard things. So first I filled out these like flowers. I'm going to show you some examples for those of you who haven't seen it before. And then I made stems and roots. And in the roots, I made like those are my values, the things that had given life to these flowers. And then I put in some rocks. I call them kryptonite. Like, you know, kryptonite, like from Superman. What is his name? Luke Luthor from the planet Krypton. He takes this stuff and like Superman's allergic to it. It takes away all his energy and power. And that's what I see as my kryptonite, the things that take away all my power. So I put those in, the things that keep me from being my best self. So that's how kind of this concept started. And I went further and further with that. When we get into that exercise, we're going to go deeper into that. I just kind of wanted to give a little bit of background. This class, actually, I was doing as the solstice. As part of the solstice, I was holding it in my Inspired Life Master class as part of that, just kind of sharing the things that I was working on and was inspired by that helped me in my life. And then I also started having, like, taking the same concept and putting it forward into the new year. And last year, I'm sorry, I have really insistent cats. You're gonna have to listen to my cats in the background. I apologize. This happens every time I try and keep them out. They aren't having it. So when I started holding the solstice rituals, I've been doing these by myself for probably 25 years. I started combining the happy last year with the winter solstice, which is on the 21st of December, which is what actually Christmas, New Year's, all of that is based on, or that's the holiday that it was. And then after that, going into doing the New Year's rituals. And I kind of combined them. And one of the reasons I did that was first that this was a much more creative way. And I am kind of one of those people. I was grown up with an unbelievable amount of positive thinking, just do it, read everything about productivity, like my dad's obsessed with his stuff. So I got tons and tons of it. And I would end up with like anxiety every January because of all the stuff I was trying to plan in. And then I would end up with anxiety in the fall for all the stuff I hadn't managed to get. And I realized that this did not work with who I am. And I'd started thinking about what feels more honest to me as a person. And since I'd been doing these solstice and equinoxes in Swedish, they're called like, yeah, I'm not even gonna say the word because I always say it wrong. But they're the solstice and the equinox, and they're 4 times a year, and they're based on the heavens, like where the moon is, where the planets are, and it's actually scientific about the way that our world changes. And it's a much more honest way to start living my life instead of doing a whole year of in like goals. I started becoming really interested first in breaking them up into what I call the first solstice, the second solstice. So we have this one until the 21st of March, but also looking at goal setting more of what's the feeling I want. Like, not so much this like extremely linear masculine way that I had grown up learning to do. I mean, I love Daniel Pink. I love like Atomic Habits. I love that stuff. But I needed to make it feel like it fit me and who I am. I don't know if you guys can relate to that at all. Looking at this more feminine way, what I call feminine, the reason I'm calling it feminine is that for me, the feminine is more in connection with Earth. It's more connection with the cycles of the moon, with the cycles in my body, with what is actually physically real. And when I am in constantly looking forward, I'm more interested in the goal than getting to the goal. This way of working, which I call a more feminine circular way, allows us more space to be in contact with what is actually really important to me so that I don't base my goals on some arbitrary thing out there, like my work goals, my money goals. I mean, they're important, but really, just having a goal doesn't motivate us. What actually motivates us is the feeling the goal gives us. What about not like getting in touch with that now? So that was kind of my idea and basis behind why I started doing this. I want to give you just a little bit of what we're going to do today. So we're going to go through these um, these kind of looking at the reflections on the three areas of life. We're going to be identifying the hard stuff, our kryptonite, and then we're going to be doing some rituals around this and some fun things to be able to do around this also. Let me see if there's anything. Oh, right. So, one more thing with this more feminine way of doing things, a masculine way. I grew up with five brothers and this religion that it was a lot of push, lots of push, push, push. I see the women around me, a lot of push. I know that for myself, that when I'm in pushing mode, I disconnect from my body and nothing good happens. So in a more feminine way, what about a more pulling? Something that's like it's being pulled into the future instead of pushed from the past. In doing this more creative way of setting up my life or my system, my months, my solstices, I feel I'm more in touch with what's actually happening inside of me, and I'm being pulled into the future instead of pushed into the future. So what I'd like you to do is both in your journals and in your telephone, start looking through the pictures of last year. Now, if you've done some of those, that already great. This part actually takes a long time, and we're not going to have time to do it all. I did this last Sunday with my family and our group. It's called Motlog, with all like a bunch of kids and stuff, or they're teenagers. And we spent like 4 hours doing it. So at the very end, we got to next year. It's a really fun thing. And again, I'll show you the pictures in just a moment. I use of like how you're going to do it. But start with just looking things up and kind of getting some ideas for things that memories that were really positive. And see if you can find tiny memories. Like in the beginning, I just did it remembering things like big events. And now I go into tiny details, like super, super, like I can read some of mine. Um, I've got them in the three different areas, and again, you'll see pictures in just a moment. But petting my cat, petting the cat, going for a walk with my best friend, going skiing, talking with my daughter and taking a walk. Motlog uh, for my kid's birthday, skiing with Freya. Freya is one of my kids. Um, brushing the cat. I have a cat on here a lot, but like these moments showed up when I was doing this really like in-depth look at all the things that make me super happy and that brought joy or energy to my life. And you're going to start organizing them into categories. Energy, work, and love are the three categories. And the roots are our values or what we need. Like, I can give examples. I've written tiny moments of joy. I can do hard things. I can receive love. And boundaries are an act of love. Those are the things that I needed. Um, in 2023, those were the things I had at the bottom of that one.
I ask a question?
Oh, yeah.
So if it's something that's more um, creative, like making a pair of wings or designing a dress or something, like is that energy then? Because it's
I
not,
would probably put that under energy. Yeah. I mean, it might be if it's also like a project you're working on, it might be work. For me, I don't always put work as where I earn income. Work for me is um, anywhere I volunteer my energy, where I give my energy, like where I give my service comes under work. Making a pair of wings, I might put under, yeah, I'd probably put it under energy. And if I were making it for somebody who's important to me, could be love. Yeah, Osa, absolutely. Love. So both. And that's actually really fun. You can kind of choose. And when I do this, I get out like I go all out. I've got like my glitter pens, the gel pens, because it's really you just can't see my gel pens online, unfortunately. They're really pretty. Like all the fun colors. Um, crayons. I know that I've had some people paint this um, like as an acrylic, as a painting, so they can have it up on their wall. So if you guys want to look for just a sec, I can show you just as some inspiration if you haven't seen these before. Like down here at the bottom, I've got compare equals despair. So this is from 2017. That was one of the things that was difficult for me. And here's a 2018. I've actually got, this is my daughter's. So it can look pretty different. And this is one of my other, my bonus daughter. So this would be like one of the possibilities. I used to draw like this first, and now I just do the circles first. And those are the areas. So now I just draw the circles and I add in other things later because now mine are really full, like compared to the first few years when there was a lot more space. So I can go back and like, actually, these were an example of something else that we're going to get to. So these are the ones from the happy past year, happy last year. Isn't that fun? She did such a great job. I was really inspired by it.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Just a little bit of an idea about how you can go on. And it's hard to see in these slides, but all of these we've used glitter pens and gel pens, and some of it is painted. So we need to go on to our next. Isn't that fun? I love spending hours doing this part because it's so fun, like doing all the coloring and the decoration of saying happy last year. But we need to go on so I can give you the basic framework. That was what the pictures looked like. You can continue to draw while I'm talking because it actually, for many of us that have a little more neurodivergent brains, um, using our hands actually helps us to listen better. And then I can send out some information later too so that you can use it. I mean, so you can remember what to do, okay? So what feelings or experiences brought you the most joy and meaning from the last year? So you're going to maybe start to see some trends in the things that brought you the most joy. And you can look in these three different areas of your life, like in your love. And like some examples could be within love, your self love, your relationships, connections, in energy. Where did you feel the most energized or depleted? Like not sleeping because you had small kids, or being able to sleep because your kids are getting, bigger. Um, Work, alignment with purpose, versus exhaustion. And even more deeply into that, like examples for me were of energy. I started being really consistent a couple years ago with walking 10,000 steps a day. That was really important to me. And then I started upping it. And that was really meaningful to me because the feeling that I wanted, the feeling that I got was that I was more powerful, that I had more energy. In love, um, I started like going on walks with my different children separately at different times. Since I have twins, they always want to do stuff together. So planning that in or making sure it happened. And then the feeling that I got was, yeah, this feels amazing. So for me, it's extremely inspiring way to reach the things that are really important to me, to be clear about what's really important to me. Something else I noticed that was really important to me was moving a lot. The year before, I had noticed that I had been up hiking just once, up in like this was in 2023. I had been up hiking in the mountains, and that had also walked part of the Camino with my husband, and it made me feel amazing. I felt so in touch with myself and with my body. And so, because it felt, I realized that being in nature in that way was so important to me. So, this year that we just had, I planned 3 long hikes. And so I was down 2 weeks in Slovakia hiking in the Tatra Berien, and then I was up in Abisko and in the, I'll remember what it's called, Jämtlands Triangle, which is in the northern part of Sweden. And that was a direct positive because that's what I wanted. I knew that I have more energy and feel better when I'm actually moving a lot and moving in nature. And a lot of my like goals came out of knowing this about myself and knowing that that was really important to me. Another positive, spending time with my children. As I was mentioning, I intended then every month I wanted to experience time with my children. And now when I look back, and did my flower, that time it's like my love flower became so packed because of all these things extra things that I was putting in that maybe I wouldn't have put in as intentionally. Also growing flowers. I noticed that I had tons of pictures of flowers on my telephone. So I planted a huge amount of flowers because it made me feel the feeling that I wanted was joy, appreciation of nature, of beauty. And then I wanted to feel strong in my body. So we're going to get things of what we want, both from looking at the positive and the negative. Let's go on now till they're not really negative because it's all just energy, right? It's just less fun. So I'm going to go on to the next part where we're oh, okay, into energy. Absolutely. So in energy, I have anything that gave me a positive energy boost. It could be meeting up with friends. Some of that would be on love, but some of it would be energy. Um, like I was out, oh, and I went long cross country skiing. So we were up in, I guess, Jämtland, and I saw a white reindeer while we were cross country skiing. And I put that on energy because it made me so happy. And I kept thinking about that white reindeer. Um, I did this spring solstice with my best friend. That's on my energy level. Um, Oh, I was in New York last year and I found a vegan gluten-free bagel that made me super happy and I had to take a picture of it because I was so excited to have found that because I love bagels and I never get to eat bagels because I can't have gluten and it was vegan. So that's on my energy. Walking with a really good friend of mine who was sick, walking with her pretty regularly to support her. Swimming in my lake. Going to the chocolate fabrique with each of my children. Working out a lot and finding I actually have muscles. Does that help with looking at what would be an energy? Energy can be anything that's helping to build you up. The basis for these three actually comes from one of my teachers, and he sees energy as eat, sleep, move. So anything that has to do with these three basic things. Okay, I've got a question here that says, the flower petals. For love, for example, is it things you write there? Does it need to be things that made you feel love? Is it the feeling or the feeling after? Or is it things you relate to love or your love life? For me, anything in love is where I experienced love inside of me or I gave love to somebody. So I have actually cuddling with my cat. I've got two cats, so I have each one separately because they like different things. Um, on love, my Valentine's Day fika with each daughter that I did separately on different days. Also on love, I went and helped my closest friend in the States. I helped her for 2 weeks open up her shop. It's a återvinning, like a recycling shop. And it was a lot of work and it was really hard and it was extremely meaningful. So that ended up on my love department. So for me, things like I have it as a very broad anything that I feel love or I gave love. I have sailing with my husband for his birthday, planting flowers. That could have also been an energy. I put it under love. I really like flowers. I'm just going to mention something about post-traumatic growth. So post-traumatic growth, or PTG, is growth through adversity. That we actually, our personal strength, what we learn is our personal strength and appreciation for life. We find new priorities and purpose. So it's not saying that, really awful things are okay, but the fact that they have been and that it's already happened, how can we use that to grow from? How can something new come into our lives from that? And so this next part of it, making these rocks, getting in contact with what were the difficulties from this year? Before you actually put down the rocks, if you haven't already done that, you can get a piece of paper and write on it, what were the worst things that happened this year? Just really short. Because I actually put this on a piece of paper that you can get rid of because we're going to burn it. We're going to let it go. So the difficult, hard, worst, awful, we're helping our brain by doing a brain dump and then now allowing our brain to know that we've actually done it. So anytime those things come up again, we can be like, that was on the list. It's gone. You might start to notice that there are some themes that show up for you while you're writing this down. I've had a couple of years where one of the themes was compare equals despair. I would compare myself and I would feel like shit. So compare equals despair. So I made that into one of my rocks because it wasn't like a really specific incident, but more like an habitual pattern that I needed to be aware of. So I made that into one of the rocks for a couple of years. It has a tendency to show up pretty regularly. So maybe just get a few rocks for yourself. You can come back to this later because you're going to want to probably spend more time on your flower unless you're really fast. But now I'd like you to turn your paper over, the flower paper, not the paper where you wrote the stuff. You can kind of, in looking at the paper that you wrote the difficult things on, and also in reflection now that you've done some of your flower, first question, what have you learned? Let me answer this little question about the work. Things related to things you did at work, or how do you define work? For me, work is anywhere I'm of service, like my the way that I show up and like all of the volunteer work I do, I put on to work, but I also put where I earn money. Um, it could be, you got a raise if you're, have a job, or that you made friends with one of the people at work who were kind of difficult, or you chose not to get involved in the drama at your work. That would be a plus. That would be a really great thing. Yeah, basically positive things that are related to those areas. Yes. Anything around what you would consider work, like your job and your life's work, your life's purpose. I have to find my life's purpose and my work kind of go into each other. But sometimes those things are on energy because it energizes me, or it feels like an act of love because it was really hard, but it was really important. And something that is really important for us to notice is that the reason that we have to do this happy last year is we have something called the negativity bias. We are wired to remember what's going to kill us and to forget anything that's not. So it's a conservation of energy. Like, remembering anything that takes brain power, takes glucose, it takes resources. So we are wired. Our body is for survival. So anything positive is going to go on the back burner and all the hard stuff's going to show up first. And that's why I could have a whole year where I was thinking it was kind of crappy. And then when I went in and started finding, I had tons of these beautiful little moments that I had completely forgotten. And at first I was quite horrified by the fact that I could have forgotten so many tiny moments, but that's the way we work. We'll remember even small bad things, but we will not remember small good things. The really big good things are easy for us to remember for the most of the time. But even those, we have a tendency, like I was so surprised by, from pictures, from things in my journal, moments that I had just basically forgotten had existed. So it's nothing wrong with us. It's our negativity bias. But when we know that, we can be kind to ourselves, and just, comfort ourselves. All right, negativity bias. And then, yeah, the question is, what did you learn? Another way to say that would be, what did your challenges teach you? How have they helped you grow? Or are you clearer about it? Um, from this last year for myself, the feeling, actually, I can tell the whole story. Last year, when I had done it, I had been feeling um, like when I was doing for 2023, I was feeling a bit resentful and noticing myself feeling kind of like a victim in my home life, and maybe in some other areas, because I felt like I was giving and giving and giving, and I wasn't getting filled back up. And I realized through looking through some of the experiences that I was having that I needed to create more experiences that were just for me and not just making sure that everybody else's needs got met. Being a mother of three of my own, two, my husband has two, my husband, um, and being brought up the way that I was in a very, socialized world, taking care of everyone's needs was really important, but it was making me not feel good. So then I put, for one of the things that I really wanted to feel in 2024 was that I own myself, my own sovereignty. And then this fall, I was having a bit of a rough time this fall. And then when I did this, I did mine a couple of weeks ago. One of the things I started to notice that consistently in different areas, these three basic areas, I had done things that absolutely were for me and that helped me. So not self-centered, but that helped to build up my own energy, helped me own myself. And that was so inspiring that I've actually done the thing, what was the feeling that I wanted to have, because I looked at it every single day during this year. So these I have hanging right next to my workspace, both last year's and this year's, so that I can see them. I belong to myself. I belong to Heidi. That I had discovered that through looking from doing this exercise and being like, oh my gosh, I've got to do something about this. And then I did. Still working on it, but I wouldn't have recognized it in that way had I not done this. And from what we're working on, we're going to be creating a theme. You can do a year theme and then your solstice theme for this first quarter. And that would be your post-traumatic growth. What did I learn from the experience? I'm going to read this up. I was surprised that so many good things turned up and so few negative. It really is, isn't it? The good thing is we don't usually take pictures of the bad stuff. The bad stuff usually is emotional or in relational, and we don't pictures, which is great. Whereas good stuff can be pictures, like cats and flowers and nature. What we're moving into now is the year that's coming up. So now what we want to be focusing on is from doing the flower, from looking at what was difficult, making rocks, get yourself a new piece of paper. And on this new piece of paper, you're going to put in the 3 areas: love, work, and energy. And reflect on the back of it. So turn it over. And I'm going to have you write a couple of things before we start making our flowers. What feelings or experiences do you want to cultivate in 2025? So we're looking at making intentions based on feelings. So on the front of the paper, you've made your 3 circles that are going to be your flowers. And on the back of the paper, you're going to be writing in, what do you want to cultivate? What feelings or experiences do you want to cultivate in 2025? And how can your growth from 2024 guide the theme for your new year? So you can kind of start to get a sense of what feelings you want. So I can share, I actually have and then from this, we're going to end up creating this theme for ourselves. And I have a year theme, and then I have themes that I focus even more clearly on. So my year theme for this year is zesty. Like when you take a lime or a lemon and you grate it and you get the zest off of it? It's an English word that we use that really means energetic, sparkly. I want to feel that. I want to feel that inside, not for anyone else. I want it for me. That's mine. So that is my overarching theme for this year. And as a part of that, I still have sovereignty. Sovereignty is this word that means I own myself. And so there are going to be certain things that I have to do that maybe don't feel very zesty, but zesty is what I want to feel. And so when I look at the different intentions that I have for the year in these 3 areas, taking into account that I'm going to be specifically this first, 3 months, looking even more closely at being zesty, feeling zesty, doing things that make me feel zesty, but also feeling like I own myself. Activities, and in each thing, like with work, maybe I need to start doing videos because I find they're really hard, but I own myself then. I choose what I say. I own my words. I show up in my full power. That makes me feel zesty. And sometimes that's kind of scary. An example in love, to own myself, it means I don't do more than my share of the home, like the housework, the crap work, even if it means it just doesn't get done. These questions, just write them on the back of the paper, just kind of as guidelines. You can have them on a different paper also, but just to kind of start helping you to map out what you want to put into your life in these areas. And I can show slides. Okay, so this one from 2019, I have a poem up in the corner that I looked at every day for that whole year. Um, I had on the left-hand corner, actually, if that's the same for you guys, um, small wins to have celebration around this. So things I wanted to remember, things that were important for me. Then my roots. I have what I needed to like ground myself with. Meaningful connection, intuition, humor, creativity, resilience. And then you can see that some of these petals, like I wanted to go to yoga twice a week instead of just because I do yoga every day by myself, but it gets boring. So I had to like to go to a yoga class twice a week, or I was eating anti-inflammatory foods. So I haven't been super specific, but kind of specific. Since I'm doing this on a 3-month basis, I could go in and be even more clear about it for those 3 months. So I have other flowers I've made even more specific, but it's a good like guideline to have sitting there. I know that I was working on a book with a friend of mine. I held the women's conference. These are in work. Consistent money. That's always a nice thing. Tenacious. So those are things I had in my work. And on love, walk with Saga and Tuva, draw with Freya, have date night once a week with my husband, play games with the kids twice a month. I hate playing games. Like I really don't like board games or I hate them. But I put it on my love thing because I know that it creates connection. And when we had all 5 kids here, it was really important to create that kind of connectivity for everyone. Here's another one of things that was really important to me. So do you start to see, this is 2020, how you can set up this next year to be super effective, but doing the things that are really important to you? Because anytime we get stressed out, we are too much, at least for me, whenever it starts to get overwhelming, it's because I'm not doing what my body is saying I need to do. That I'm not listening to my intuition. I'm not listening to my connection with myself and to nature. I'm listening to what the world wants, and the world is very linear. Like our jobs, our work, the way that society is run, it's not made for our bodies to be healthy and feeling good about ourselves. It's very survival based. And so looking at this every single day has really been hugely helpful in remembering what's really important to me. Giving myself like small hints of things to look at, and then having an overall, an overarching theme for myself. Okay, have everything that you write down on the back. That is your overarching feeling that you want to have and that you want to live from, and is to help you to create this theme. And then when you start to write things down on your flower, they are going to be coming from what it is that you want to feel. So it might be that you have different things you want to feel in each category. For me, what I discovered is that this sense of owning myself actually fit into all 3 categories. And then I felt like in my work I did it, but I didn't do it in my home, and I didn't do it as much in my energy as I wanted to. And so it really guided me to make more concrete choices about what I did based on the feeling. Or if you have something that you have to get done, like a goal, something you really, really want to reach, something you're feeling like this is really important to me, what is the feeling of it? So maybe it wasn't on the back of the paper. Maybe it didn't come from last year. It's like something new that showed up for you. That's great. That's fine. What is the feeling you want? Let me give you an example. Let me just think of one quickly. Maybe you want to get a promotion. What's the feeling you want? What would that promotion give you? Or you want to meet a partner. Well, what is the actual feeling that you want? Or what are some other things? Can you start to see how those can tie together? That we can make our intentions from our feeling because otherwise there's a good chance that we will think about the promotion and go towards it instead of thinking about what's the feeling I want and work ourselves backwards. So if we know what the feeling is that we want, that will pull us towards it. That's different than wanting to get somewhere and having to push ourselves forward towards it. We're pulled towards it by the feeling that we're creating. I find that when I have an overarching theme or feeling, our brain can only handle, mostly one at a time. Like if we're really going into the sensation, if we have like a really big, hairy, audacious goal that we really want, what would be the feeling of that? What is the most important thing for that big thing? Like for me, this owning myself, really big. And that's where I came into zesty. Well, what does it feel like to own myself? It feels alive. It feels zesty. It feels energetic. It feels kind and generous. But it's like, not just like passive. And so I use that to put any goal that I have, anything that I need to do, I bake it into that. I find where can I develop that or how can I help that to grow and be more alive? Because then I'm working from desire and from what I'm longing for instead of something that I think I'm going to get something from. I've been practicing it the whole time then. Does that make sense? Can you see how it's very different than like when we go to our goal workshop at work? You get the goal, you make a plan. The activities come from the feelings. Your feelings, they'll end up being your roots because feelings are kind of values. They're our values. It's what's important to us. So we put those in as the stems and the roots. And we're going to end up with some rocks. We've already known we had some rocks from kryptonite from last time. It's important we put that in too. We can't ignore that they're there. We want to name them to tame them. So once we've put in some of our roots, these feelings, the things that are going to get us to where we want to go. Like for this last year, some of the ones I wrote, connected, safe, vivacious, mojo, great English word, mojo, our energy, meaning, proud of myself. So an example of a feeling of being safe would be for me, feeling grounded, feeling connected, feeling, this is also kind of in connection with something bigger than myself. Those things make me feel safe. A belief in my own capacity to deal with difficulty. So a self-belief or self-trust. For me, to give some of the examples, if what I wanted was sovereignty, to feel like I owned myself, And I wanted to feel, because I wanted to feel safe in my own body. I wanted to feel like my time and my experience wasn't just to be of service, even though I love to serve, but not like a mom, the serving, doing constantly, which it's been an important role. But now I'm moving out of that and having to train both myself and others how to do something else. So I went to week-long silent retreats. I went to out on Eccharet. I went for a week, and it was really challenging. Um, being there for a week with most people being 20 years younger than myself. And but what it gave me was a showing up for myself. So I guess that's really, I had to show up for me. Like no one else was going to do it. No one else was going to make the boundaries at home. I had to do that. And it did change my level of feeling of safety internally from myself. Um, Going to therapy, has been really helpful for me to feel more safe in myself. The silent retreats and my daily meditation has been really helpful for that. Having a trust, because it's such an interesting word, safety. Um, like having a trust in my body's capacity to deal with difficulty, both physically and emotionally. And it's two different things. So I've worked a lot on the physical aspect by up and hiking and doing things like that. I hope that that was a little bit more clear, a little bit helpful. So you can start to now create perhaps your overarching theme. One could be resilient joy. Like I said, I have actually three that I love. One is sovereignty, zesty, and then my other one is curiosity. So one of the things I do is I help women transform their lives through both individual coaching, group programs, retreats. And if you'd like to go deeper or get more support in aligning with your purpose and stepping more into your personal power, I'd love to connect. I'm going to put into the chat a link, and you can book a free call with me to see if it would be something that would be helpful to you. And we're really looking at like, where do you want to grow in love, energy, and work this next year? Who do you want to be? And where do you want to grow in these areas this next year? So you can continue to fill this in and then make it look beautiful. I mean, you're going to be looking at this every day. So what I'd like to encourage you to do is to hang these two next to each other on your wall. We know that, 97% of people actually don't write down their intentions. And of course, we're not going to get anywhere without actually making a very clear intention for it. We just want to do it from a feeling instead. Research shows that goals connected to feelings are more motivating than outcome-based goals. So we really want to visualize embodying the feeling of achieving our intentions. And we can do this as a daily practice. You can do it in your morning meditation, or if you do morning papers, or just taking a few moments when you wake up in the morning while your brain is still fresh before you've looked at your phone, and just kind of review what's important to me. Where am I going? Some goals connected to feelings are more motivating than outcome-based goals. So it's really just, doing it from the backwards. They were going from the goal backwards based on feeling instead of from here to the goal, just to get there. The other thing that's actually really cool about it is that if we're going to visualize embodying the feeling of achieving it, of it already being here, we get to experience it the whole time instead of just waiting until we get there. Because often we're thinking that when I get there, then I'll feel better. But if we're already practicing the sensation of what it feels like, it's like amazing. because we get to experience it the whole time. Oh yeah. So the forward flower, um, you're on a whole new paper. You start with the three round ones again, with work, love, and energy. And then you start to put the petals on for the year that's coming. And you're basing that on the feeling that you discovered from this last year that was really important to you. What gave you energy? Or you realized that you were lacking something and you need to put it in. The feelings are going to be the roots,
Oh yeah. Okay.
and in the petals will be the activities.
Okay. Thanks.
The activities, but they're growing from the feelings. And
Yeah.
feelings often are connected to values. I mentioned that earlier, but I would put like feelings or values on the very bottom as the roots and then the feelings on the stems. But I kind of noticed they started to be very similar. So on the back of your paper, you were to write kind of, if you go back in the chat, I had written up some questions that kind of guided you for what did you learn from the difficulty? So you wrote one piece of paper that was like the awful stuff on a totally different paper. And then in reflection, you wrote that all down on the back or on another piece of paper you choose. And our stones are going to be added in for things that we see as like the kryptonite. What's really going to get me? What's going to keep me from getting where I want to go? Like I have being not enough, a belief of not enoughness is a stone. I hope you're getting some beautiful things in front of you that you feel are inspiring and then you can actually look at every single day. So just to remind you, spend 1 to 2 minutes every day reconnecting with your theme and the feelings you want to cultivate. Whatever activity that you make it based on the feelings. Make your habits to support you. So actually, it's not just willpower, it's our system. It's like having a really good system. There's two things that will actually help us attain what we really want. And I would say three, feeling it first. So we really know our why. What does it feel like? Why is it important to me? Having a group of people to support you. There's great research on this, super interesting. It's so much easier to get where we want when we're with people that believe and feel like we do and that we can feel safe with. And make a system or a habit. We can't just rely on our willpower because our willpower is finite. We run out of it. It's based on glucose, how much sleep we've had. So we can't always rely on our willpower. Even if you've got amazing willpower, it will run out. But if we've got a group to help hold us, we've got a system holding us, and we know the feeling that we want to be cultivating, we're going to get a lot farther, or closer to what we really want. And ultimately, anything that we want in our lives, it's for what it makes us feel like. Not because it's something outside of us, but that it's in us. It comes from within us. It can't come from anywhere else. And we can already start feeling that now. I'm going to open up for more questions in just a minute, but I wanted to invite everybody as a reflection. What do you want to take with you from this? I usually say, like, what's the flower you want to take? Can you put that into the chat? What do you want to take with you from this exercise? Hope. Oh, that was beautiful. And somebody said, this is a lovely exercise. I'm sorry I have to go. Thank you. The softness and creativity. Oh, beautiful. Aw. It's so much more fun, isn't it? Besides, we get to use our fun pens To look for the small things that make me feel good. Ah, beautiful. The importance of feelings. Yeah, they're huge. And we don't even know it. Find out what is really matters and what is important to me, a need. Yeah, huge. Feeling centered. Beautiful.